My name is Angela Conquet, and this morning I was facilitating the workshop Collaborating in Solidarity and Care. So this workshop was an expansion from the conversation organized by Onda yesterday, and it was an invitation to imagine what care might look like in a context of solidarity. And I guess the invitation that I extended to the participants was to look at the notion of care from two different angles, or two different, invitations. One was to consider care as attention, as a mode of attention, and the other one was care as a mode of intention. And the first part was prefaced by an invitation to consider what needed to change, because we talked a lot about change. And the second half was about things that we could change individually at our own levels and our own practices. So where the discussion was located was in notions of practice, but also in notions of place, because I personally think we can't detach care from neither practice nor place. And yes, that was kind of the thread that grounded us during this workshop. So the invitation to think about care as both attention and intention is because I open this space by inviting participants to consider that care is a word that now I think has been colonized, and I think there's no other way of putting this, by many interests and agendas. And I think just like with other words, important words like diversity or decolonial or post-colonial, or, I think they have become now almost void of meaning. And what I was trying to bring attention to was that care could be both a mode of doing, but also a way of being. And that can be perhaps achieved if we consider care as a particular kind of attention that we pay to each other, to oneself first and foremost, to each other, and to the others, but also attention to the places we are in, and how place, context, and location define actually notions of care. But attention as an active way of being aware of how I think we relate to each other and the world, because I think I like to share with the participants that some of the learnings I've been exposed to by living in Australia, where there's an attachment to land that defines everything, and this notion that you are not alone, because you are responsible to others and others are responsible to you. So in this interdependence and interrelationality, there is already a notion of care, but it's there, you don't even need to define it. So it's more of an attention to something. Intention, I think, is the next level. It's when you are aware of that attention and you want to do something with it. And I think English as a language is beautiful because it speaks about, when you say to care, you can care about, you can care for, you can care. It's got an ambiguity that you can make a lot of things with. And intention is really about what can you change? What do you want to change? And kind of set an awareness that maybe even if it's something that you do not know yet, it can be a notion of caring that is yet to be explored. So I guess understanding care as also a reality that can be comfortable with not necessarily having contours that are clear, and in this ambiguity then anyone can find its place and redefine it and not fix it. And that's the beauty, I think, of this notion. So I prefaced everything with an invitation for them to share first, to introduce themselves. But when they introduced themselves, they said already so much about themselves, because I said, can you tell us where is home for you? What is your practice? We didn't want to know if they were, an artist, an institution. That was less important. But practice is important because you have to position yourself when you say what your practice is. So it can be simple things like, yes, I'm a choreographer, but is that really all that it is to it? And then many people said, well, my practice is to connect people with meaning or to connect people with other people. That's a practice. Or things like that. And then the fact that many people said, for me, home is a place where I can be quiet, I can be still, or is where my kids are, where I can care for the loved ones. We are already notions of care. And then I invited them to think about a question that, what do you care about right now? And the answers were beautiful, because it is right now. But why is it now that you think about this? So yes, we're talking about change, because if right now you are concerned about something, you care about something, and you didn't yesterday, it means that we're in a cycle of change that can be understood differently. And I think someone pointed out very rightfully that we, in our Western imagination, we think that change is something that there's something that happens and then, here comes change. And it's this kind of like sequencing that's very linear, but change doesn't work like this. Changes can be a circle, or it can be a horizon, or it can be a modus operandi. And I think that was what brought in the room this other, densities of attention, but also notions that were completely related to the field, but how we engage with the field was more, I guess, the focus. I think everyone we talked a lot about time, and time again, as we understood in our usual everyday life, is very linear. So then, we now feel the rush that we need to do something about care, because the world is on fire in every sense of the word. But care is probably about going slowly, thinking slowly, allowing space for silences and stillness with oneself in order to better engage with others. So I think we've worked with these notions of attention and intention that include time and place, because if you talk about place, you talk about privilege and location, and also it opens a sort of it makes it more tangible to imagine that. I think somebody said it's the porosity of the membrane. It's almost something that we all have, but maybe we're not using. I mean, we all have a membrane, but you're not always aware of it, maybe until someone touches you. So then from there, we moved into notions of responsibility, which is this two words, responsibility, which comes from quantum physics theory and dance practitioners work a lot with, which is there's something that circulates between you and I if I touch you. So in that reaching out to someone else's membrane, there is an interest and a curiosity, and this is where care can start. So it's not about big change, and it's not about disrupting the system or subverting it. It's about gentle resistance. Someone said beautifully, resistance is not always about conflict and about, it's about friction, and friction can be between membranes, and it can be gentle, and just being aware of that space is already a space of care, because you're aware of it, and you've allowed yourself the time to actually see it, perceive it, and sense it. And I think in our dance ecology, we're uniquely able to understand this. Probably we're better equipped to understand these very subtle nuances of matter that we work with. And I think we all ended on a very optimistic note, because we almost have the organ necessary to implement or to generate care. We just to make a commitment to do it, and that's the intention. Probably because I like to do a lot of word counting. Connection was there a lot. Alignment, obviously intention, and I reached out the invitation for them to think that silences and stillness can be a way of allowing moments of suspension, and that the question can be the answer. We don't need to find the answer. So working with those terms of accepting to not know. Not knowing is a form of knowledge. And I think many people responded to, I put out some invitations for them as a way of being together, and I said, well, let us all listen first. But let's listen all the time, because listening is not necessarily hearing, or to use discomfort as a way of understanding difference because this is where care is needed as well, and to make space for all this, but not to take the space. So this simple, really simple things, I would say, that I think we all are aware of or know of, but if you don't set them as an intention, they can't arrive. And sometimes there are things, I think, like notions like this, they're complex, where you need the time for things to, you have to make space for things to arrive to you and be open. And again, I think, yeah, that's what this group came to a conclusion, that solidarity actually is about care. I mean, it's as simple as that. We work with very simple notions, but they require, I guess, this enhanced awareness and ability to decide to be responsible